Madam President, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me back to this great city and fine university. I have spoken here before. My partner Charlotte is actually on the University Court of York, just down the road. A bit of competition, I'm sure, but has family here at Durham, who I think are present, or one is present anyway. Now, I'm a former Conservative MEP. I stood down in May last year. So I'm delighted personally to be welcomed to this Conservative heartland of Durham County. What with Bishop Auckland, Durham North West and Sedgefield. Now in blue hands, and of course red car has become blue car down the road, I understand. But of course Sedgefield, as well you know, Tony Blair's seat, I understand that is where Peter Mandelson confused guacamole with mushy peas, which is a good story, I have to say, but it is apparently true. It has been a truly extraordinary result, but the reason I raise it is to ask the question, why has this happened? It is an amazing turnabout. And these are clearly mainly traditional Labour voters. Many of them voted for a generation for Labour. And why have they chosen then to back Boris on this occasion? And I suggest to you it is because these are very decent, law-abiding patriots who saw dangers in Jeremy Corbyn, rightly or wrongly, but they saw dangers in him, and they put country before party. And it's not about left or right. In fact, I think those labels are, I've found, certainly in the European debate, are really old-fashioned now. It's not about left or right. It is about values. And so I encourage you today, ladies and gentlemen, to back this motion, which has changed now, but please back this motion that patriotism is a force for good, because I genuinely believe that is the case. And I want to set out three reasons why I think that's the case. And the first one is that patriotism is not the same as nationalism. I think it's a central message. They're often confused, often deliberately confused, but they are not the same, because patriotism really is a simple love of country, and nationalism has elements of loving country, but it excludes others. It's often to the detriment of others, other peoples, other nations. Fundamentally different. And you're being asked today to support patriotism, not nationalism. I think that is a fundamental difference. And second, the thing is, you can choose the nation or country you want to be patriotic about tonight. It doesn't have to be just England or United Kingdom. I will be supporting Scotland tomorrow. I'm half Scots. I have some Welsh and Irish thrown in as well. And of course we have 4 nations in the United Kingdom. One can support this motion. You can be a proud American or proud Canadian, Australian. I'm sure there's every nation represented at Durham. Indian, Chinese, even the French can be patriotic. Or European. If you want to be European, you want to wear those funny berets, wave flags and shout at people like Steve Bray shouted at me a few times, then that's fine. Be patriotic, because that's what the motion's about. Choose your patriotism. There are 195 nation states in the world. They keep going up, by the way, even in this world of trade blocs, we were told. They keep going up. More and more nation states are created. So choose the ones you want to be patriotic about. And then third, I think you probably think that Britain is terribly patriotic, relative to other countries in the world. Well, that's not the case. If you look at the YouGov survey, we're only 9th in the world. America is number 1, you might expect that. But we get beaten by Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia. So we're slacking. I put to you, we're slacking. We have to be more patriotic, not less. Let's be honest, when you talk of patriotism, when you support the rugby teams tomorrow, there's no hint of nationalism, I would suggest. You love your own country, you back your own country, but there's such goodwill in rugby, isn't there? And you're not doing it at the expense of others and hating others. That may be different in Scotland, I don't know, but we'll see. But normally that isn't the case, certainly. So I think one of the things I would quote is George Orwell, because he knew nationalism. He fought, as you know, Spanish Civil War. He fought against the Nazis, worked for the BBC fighting against the Nazis, and he knew it. And 1984 is all about fighting nationalism in a way, or the dangers of nationalism. And he draws that distinction, a central distinction between patriotism and nationalism. And he says, by patriotism, I mean devotion to a particular place and a particular way of life, is how he puts it, which one believes to be the best in the world, but has no wish to force upon other people. And it is essentially, by nature, defensive, both militarily and culturally defensive. Nationalism, on the other hand, he goes on to say, is inseparable from the desire for power. The abiding purpose of any nationalist is to secure more power and more prestige. But the two are not the same. I mean, as I say, patriotism is a simple national pride, it's a feeling of love, devotion, sense of attachment to a homeland, and alliance with other citizens who share the same affection. It's more like last night at the proms, and of course last night at the proms you have a lot of flags from all around the world. It's so wonderful. Even the EU flags are there, as we know. It's more last night at the proms than the Nuremberg rally, let's be honest, or a North Korean marching song, or whatever it is. It really isn't about that, and some opponents deliberately paint it as nationalism and nasty. It is not jingoistic. It is not xenophobic, it's not phobic at all. It's a simple love of country. And again, if you think it's all tied up with Britain, the word patriot actually comes from the Greek, patriotes, meaning from the same country. It's not really loaded, is it, from the same country? And it grew through Latin and French into patriota, meaning countrymen. That's all it means, that's all we're talking about tonight. So if you simply love your own country, and it is, you know, and I think once you do love your own country, it is actually easier to love other countries and respect other countries. It's not a competition, you don't hate other countries. And as a Brexiteer, I love Europe, don't get me wrong, I love Europe, I love the patriotic nations of Europe. I have a problem with the undemocratic, bureaucratic, nationalistic European Union, but like Norway or Switzerland or 21 other nations in Europe that are not in the EU, of the 48 in Europe, you're perfectly able to love Europe but have a different relationship with the EU that is friendly, that is open, that is close, and I hope we do follow that path for all our sakes, and I'm sure we will. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I believe the case for patriotism is unarguable in that it is a simple love of country. It's really on a par with a love of partners, a love of family, you know, a love of good things. It's very much simple, benign, good, enriching. And I urge you to support patriotism tonight and not be deluded into thinking it's all about nationalism and hating others. It really isn't. And again, that final point, you can choose which country to be patriotic about or nation to be patriotic about. So for all these reasons, I commend you the motion tonight. Thank you very much.